Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to address you today at the San Francisco Conference on Investing and to speak about the investment opportunities that are offered by the African continent. Now, like one of the most famous companies in the state of San Francisco is Google, and like them, we also started the business out in the garage. And we started out with a vision to allow people to access the wealth and the growth of Africa in a much more easy and meaningful way. And this vision has led us to list the first AMI Big50 exchange traded fund on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, to then allow people to easily access 15 or more African countries and 11 sectors which are driving Africa's growth, all through a listed and a safe environment. This has been a long journey, but the fruits of it are quite rewarding in the sense that for the first time ever, the ability to monitor and participate in Africa's growth is made available to the man on the street. Now, Africa is a place that holds vast amounts of wealth, and it's not anything I need to tell you about. Companies like Google would not be able to thrive without mobile devices that are produced by the cobalt that's mined in Africa. Farming techniques in Africa are still some of the most sustainable in the world, and we have some of the highest world's freshwater reserves. In addition, the motor industry, which had thrusted mankind into a new form and mode of transportation, sources most of its material from the African continent, and this would be in the form of platinum. And as we look in the future with what is coming, which is going to be electrical cars, we also see Africa playing quite a key role in this, as the lithium deposits, some of the largest in the world, have been found on the African continent. And in addition, there's copper on the African continent, which is a key component in creating electrical cars. So without even having to look at the history of Africa, we can understand that Africa's future is hand in hand with that of the world. And now, for the first time ever, we make this available to individuals to invest in. When we listed this product back in April 2017, we called it Listing of the World's Last Frontier, because as much as we are endowed with all of these resources as Africans, it is also important to recognize that there needs to be structures and policies and procedures in place for us to be able to meaningfully participate in this economy. Before, this opportunity only existed and availed itself to ultra wealthy individuals, sovereign wealth funds, which were able to participate and set up the necessary infrastructure to be able to extract Africa's wealth for themselves. Since then, and now moving forward into the beginning of the gold rush and discovery of gold in Johannesburg, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange was set up. And it was really on the back of gold companies coming out. And at a point in time, as you might know or not know, South Africa produced 80% of the world's gold. And one of the reasons we're the greenest city in the world is because gold prospectors back in the day would, wherever they thought there was gold, would plant trees, as then a means to be able to mine the gold and also to So now we find ourselves in a situation where we have taken a soft thread and we find ourselves in a situation, Cloud Atlas Investing has taken a soft needle and weaved it through all of these financial markets to bring you a product that baskets the opportunity Africa offers across 11 sectors, from banking to food and beverage, to healthcare, to industrials, to oil and gas, provide the power that was needed for their mining operation. And so you can just, if you look at the Johannesburg city landscape, you can see just how much gold and how much gold prospecting created this boom that we now have as one of Africa's powerhouses. So we chose this as a natural location to then list our exchange traded fund, and the exchange that is being one of the longest and the oldest in Africa as being the first that we use. Key to participating in this growth is being structural reform. So a dollar in, a dollar out is a simple investment policy that many would subscribe to. You never want to find yourself in a situation where you've put a dollar in and you can no longer get it out. In fact, You would prefer a situation where you put $1 in and you get $2 out. And this has been one of the critical reasons that has then allowed us to list a product of this nature on the African continent. Because prior to this, a lot of the central banks in Africa had restricted the movement of foreign currency into and out of and this caused a major risk upweighting of African countries, where people started to perceive Africa as risky, as not so well governed, and problems such as corruption became very rampant. And this caused the stock exchanges across the African continent to suffer from the stigma of illiquidity, small size, low investor confidence, and even low domestic participation. And now, with the central banks becoming awake to the crucial role that they play in managing Africa's growth and finances, they have lifted these restrictions that were previously in place. Unfortunately for us, this took place just a few months before we listed. And so we listed and bring investors the opportunity to invest in Botswana, in Egypt, in Kenya, in Mauritius, in Morocco, in Nigeria, in Tanzania, in Uganda, in Zambia, and in Zimbabwe. Cloud Atlas Investing has taken a soft needle and weaved it through all of these financial markets to bring you a product that baskets the opportunity Africa offers across 11 sectors, from banking to food and beverage, to healthcare, to industrials, to oil and gas, mining, telecommunication, infrastructure, utilities. And this is an important feature of the AMI Big 50, is the diversity, not only across countries, but also across sectors. This product is available for anybody to be able to trade. As investors seek better yielding investments across the world, there is no place other than Africa where you will be able to achieve some of the greatest returns known to asset managers. The developed markets have reached a tipping point. Emerging markets are still coming strong. But for over a decade and a half, the African markets were growing steadily by over 5% collectively. This is phenomenal numbers and is expected to grow even further as we come out of this low for long commodity cycle and we move into a risk-on sort of environment. We're seeing a lot more flows coming into Africa and wanting to capture and participate in the growth of this continent. Here is your opportunity to do so. Here is Cloud Atlas Investing.